All right. More information coming through. Again, we're getting some details now of Nancy Pelosi's itinerary, what she's going to be doing tomorrow in Taipei. She will be meeting with the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen. That's going to happen in the first part of the day tomorrow, Wednesday, the 3rd of August. And after lunch, she will be flying out of the island nation in the afternoon, local time. So it's a very short visit. It's less than 24 hours. But given the kind of hype that you're seeing around it, both from the US side and more importantly in response from the Chinese side, you'd imagine that this is an absolutely groundbreaking visit. But it's, like I said, barely a few hours that she was going to be in Taipei. She will continue with the further leg of her Asia tour. But I want to go back to Amichai Stein. We've just had a war between Russia and Ukraine, and clearly both sides have made mistakes in that war. That war is still ongoing. It's into its 6th month now. Can the world afford another one? And this time, even if it's going to be between China and Taiwan, invariably the United States will have to get involved, either directly, if not indirectly. What lessons has the world drawn, if any, from the war between Russia and Ukraine in a way that we can prevent another one from erupting?
I think the question should be what China has learned from watching the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine, and how the West is responding to this war, and how the US is responding. So I think this is also maybe the question. What we're seeing right now is that China is trying to be on the sidelines, not too much into Russia, not too much assisting Russia, not too much supporting Russia. Although Russia would like China to go into this conflict, we're seeing China staying on the sideline, watching and learning. Because, for example, you know that in China, they're learning what happened to the Soviet Union and why it collapsed. Meaning the Chinese are watching to see how this war is going on. And I think when they saw maybe the West response and the US response, they took note of it. Mm-hmm. And I think China at this point doesn't really want an all-out war. Maybe in the future they would like to have a complete conquest of Taiwan. But at this point, I think the Chinese, and talking about war, is not a thing that is going together. The Chinese want to show they are the powerful force in the area, that they are the really, let's say, warlords in the sea. But I don't think at this point they are talking about war against Taiwan.
Okay.
And I think they want to show a lot of force, but not going over the threshold.
Ambassador Parthasarathy, one of the few, perhaps even the only country that has come out in support today, in support of China over Taiwan, is Russia. Do you believe that this is now just going to hasten the process of both of these countries firming up what would look likely an alliance against Western countries, and by virtue of being part of groupings like Quad, India gets lumped with the Western groupings as well?
No, I don't think India is going to get involved in military operations right across these areas. So what is really likely to happen is a bit of a show of tensions, a bit of sort of machoism on both sides, but they will have to cool off. That is the reality. No, you already have seen the price countries pay for in war in what is happening in Ukraine. This will be much worse. So I don't think two superpowers are going to get involved in conflict over such an issue. But yes, I have no doubt in my mind that the Chinese will take some measures of military pressures without crossing a limit, because they have to save face.
What may it mean for countries like India? I mean, we have our own ongoing military standoff, if you will, with the Chinese over the last 2 years or so in eastern Ladakh. If there were to be an escalated situation across the Taiwan Straits, what may that mean for our own sort of ties with China?
No, well, I don't think the Chinese are going to link these two issues. One is on Taiwan, and ours is purely on a border. there are talks between senior generals on both sides. So right now the status quo is being maintained, though certainly India would like China to get back to where it was. So that is going to be negotiation. There, if any tensions are there, it could come separately, but it will have nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Here, I think there's going to be a lot of show-making on both sides, a lot of toing and froing and pretending to come to tensions. But both know what the costs are. And I think both will find channels of communication to see neither loses face.
Okay, I want to go back to Andrew Leung. Xi Jinping a few months ago had publicly said that he intends to see the reunification of Taiwan with the mainland within the end of this decade. This year, he's up for what many are saying is a likely third term and chairman for life. I think in a couple of years from now, the PLA, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, celebrates its centennial year. How important is it for Xi Jinping, given this whole idea of no loss of face, having publicly said that he wants the reunification of Taiwan by all means possible, to be seen as not responding or not responding enough to Nancy Pelosi's visit, which the Chinese have already called an open provocation?
Well, aside from the Nancy Pelosi's visit and the United States chance to play the Taiwan card and trying to hollow out the so-called one China policy, the Taiwan unification has remained the core of Xi Jinping's China dream. In fact, Xi Jinping has reaffirmed many times that the latest time for the unification would be 2049, which is the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. But on the other hand, it is only an aim. To realize that aim, there are many other channels, and an always preferred tactic is winning without war. In other words, the ideal solution is a peaceful unification. But on the other hand, the reality remains that most of the Taiwanese people do not want unification, but nor do they want independence, because independence would threaten their lifeblood. What they want is just maintain the status quo forever. But again, that is not an option for Xi Jinping. Now, I think the likely tactic is, with the lesson of the Nancy Pelosi visit, I think this is quite likely that Beijing would further strengthen its military capabilities of prevailing over Taiwan, quickening the process, perhaps building more vessels, more highly capable missiles, and also putting a lot of pressure to force Taiwan into negotiations for a peaceful solution.
Some kind of a
I think
settlement.
that would be
Lisa Curtis, on a day when the U.S.